How's it going, guys? Today I want to talk about Resident Evil and Capcom potentially repeating some mistakes that they've made in their recent past when it comes to releasing several Resident Evil games within a short amount of time. Do note that while I will briefly talk about the HD remasters that are coming out, I mainly want to focus on newer titles that have either been announced or have yet to be announced. Anyways, let's get started with today's video. So to start off, I want to clarify what I mean by Capcom repeating mistakes from their recent past. Essentially what they tried to do was gauge fan interest by seeing what genre fans thought that the Resident Evil series should continue with. Did they like the survival horror aspect of Resident Evil? Did they like the more action-based sections? Or did they want a mix of just everything from action to horror to melee combat that has absolutely nothing to do with Resident Evil and more so with something like Street Fighter and Devil May Cry? To no one's surprise, Operation Raccoon City failed because it was going for the action-oriented style of Resident Evil, which not many people really wanted. Granted, to be fair on Operation Raccoon City's part, it had an interesting concept, but interesting concepts don't get you very far if you're not going with what fans want. Then we had Resident Evil 6, which had various different genres, and most people agree that the game was just oversaturated. I think my friend Brandon said it best that by chapter 3, for each campaign, everything just kind of falls apart with that game, and I can definitely agree to that. And lastly, we had Resident Evil Revelations on the Nintendo 3DS before it got ported over to consoles and PC, which, to everyone's surprise, was a pretty decent game. Not perfect, but it was pretty good for what it was. And this leads into some concerns that I have with some of these more recent titles that have either been announced or have yet to be announced. We have Umbrella Corps, which is basically the redone version of Operation Raccoon City. We have Resident Evil 2 Remake, which is potentially going to be the Revelations of this year or early 2017. And then we have Resident Evil 7, which we don't know what it's going to be going for, but assuming that Capcom is going to repeat some of their mistakes, it's probably going to have some horror, some action, and maybe some of that melee combat like last time with RE6. And this is assuming that Capcom still doesn't know what to do with the franchise's genre after releasing so many different HD remasters of good Resident Evil games. Which leads into my next concern of Capcom releasing too many HD remasters because they still don't know what to do with the genre of the Resident Evil franchise. This especially seems to be the case when you consider that there's a rumor for a Resident Evil Outbreak HD remaster that's apparently supposed to be announced at E3, as well as a Resident Evil 6 port to current-gen platforms. While Capcom did say that they wanted to do more HD remasters, I don't think people were assuming that it was just going to be Resident Evil only. I think that most people thought it was going to be various different franchises that they may or may not have touched in a very long time. And while I think that most people are open to the idea of getting Resident Evil HD remasters, I don't think they want too much Resident Evil too soon. I mean, let's face it, I don't think everyone's going to have enough money to buy every single Resident Evil, whether it be a new title or an HD remaster, on day one. Anyways, I didn't want to make this video too long, so I'd really like to hear some of your thoughts and opinions down in the comments or via video responses. And while I personally think that Capcom is repeating its history and potentially even making it worse by oversaturating the market with tons of Resident Evil games, whether they be new games or HD remasters, I'm still open to them. I just think that it's probably not a good idea for Capcom to do so, but, you know, what do I know? Anyways, hope you all enjoyed, and if you don't already, you can follow me on Google+, Twitter, and on Twitch.